Hi, I have been asked to speak to children's literacy and helping parents figure out maybe where to get started if you're not sure, where to find some good titles and great content for your children, especially those early readers or the reluctant readers. So I personally have two kids, and my children are both somewhat sensitive readers. So I've done a lot of reading and research, basically trying to find books that will suit their reading preferences, make sure it's not too scary or too gory or things of that sort. So I've done a lot of research. I'm not an expert, but I sure have been around the block trying to figure all of this out. So I have a few favorite resources. One of my favorites for new reads are the Willow Awards. This is last year's poster, but the Willow Awards are a Saskatchewan-based award. The writers have to be Canadian, and the books have to have been published within the last 2 years. So it's a good starting point. The first set of books, known as the Shining Awards, are geared for your younger readers up to grade 3. Then there are the Diamond Awards, which are your grades 4 to 6 readers, followed by the Snow Awards, which are grades 7 and up. Based on what I've experienced, they're for the most part excellent reads, and it's new literature, which is always a bonus. So one of my other favorite go-tos when I'm trying to figure out what I want to read with my kids or encourage them to read something is this book called 100 Best Books for Children. Now this book is copyrighted almost 20 years ago. So not everything in here is current and up to date. There's been some excellent books written and published in the last 20 years that this doesn't cover, but it's a good starting place. And it breaks the books down into categories, starting with board books, picture books, and then so forth, so you can figure out what reading level your child should be at. My absolute favorite, because we are a read together family, is Jim Trelease's ReadAloud Handbook. Now this copy here from the library is the 7th edition. Jim Trelease has come out with an 8th edition, I believe in 2019. I don't know how much the content has changed. The nice thing about this book versus this book, there are great books in here, but not all of them are easy to read aloud. BFG is in this book by Roald Dahl. And for anybody who's familiar with that book, there's a lot of made up words and language, which I struggled so hard to read aloud to my kids about. However, these books, for the most part, are fun, worthwhile read aloud books. So the other thing that I would recommend, Newbery Award books. The Newbery Awards are presented to the book that shows the most impact to children for that year. So sometimes it's a picture book, sometimes it's a chapter book, more often than not a chapter book. Not all Newbery Award winners are still relevant for kids today. So be kind of cautious about that if you're looking into those lists. I also like to follow a couple different blogs. There's a woman out there who, I believe she homeschools her children, and her blog is called What We Do All Day. And what they do all day is read. And she's got some excellent lists. She's a list maker. So she breaks it up into books for grade 1 students or books for road trips, the best audiobooks out there, the best books for sensitive readers. Actually, that's how I stumbled upon her. So Google it. Look at Pinterest. You will find some resources that suit your needs. Find a favorite author and love that author, because that's always a good one. In my case, I've got illustrators that I love, and so we always tend towards those books. One of the really important things to keep in mind if you are reading with your kids, and it is in in the Jim Trelease Handbook, you can read to your child up to 2 grade levels above where they can read. Some children you can read higher than that, but in general, most children can comprehend up to 2 levels above where they read. So if you've got a grade 1 student, you can read to them at a grade 3 level, which really helps. So in this handbook, again, this is my favorite. The whole first half of the book, maybe, before where I put all these little tabbies, explain to you the importance of reading aloud and how to go about reading aloud. If you're not into that, don't bother. But then once you get to the back, just like the 100 Best Books for Children, Jim Trelease has broken them up into what he considers different age ranges. So some picture books, some early chapter readers followed by longer novels, etc. And because he continued to update the book, you see a lot of newer published books in this as recommendations. So that's just the starting point. Hopefully it helps you sit down and pick some books to read with your kids. Hopefully it helps you to have some resources just to maybe expand your horizons and broaden your reading libraries. We in our house try and read everything. We don't get hung up on genders. We do not get hung up on cultures. We don't get hung up on very many things. Like I said, we do have our favorites and we tend towards those, but we also try and stir it up as much as we can. We do the classics as well as the brand new reads. And just books are great. All reading is good reading. So even if your kid decides all they want to do is read Garfield comics, or they're only into graphic novels and you really, really, really want them to pick up Anne of Green Gables, don't worry about it. All reading is good reading. Let your kids read. Let them pick out their own books. And just keep encouraging that. I really, really also am an advocate for the audiobooks because we don't have enough time in our daily lives to read as much as I want my children to read or to capture all the stories I'd like to hear. So this is how we go through and about that. Tumble Books is a great option. It allows your kids to do read along options as well. Some of the Libby audiobooks or ebooks are also actually read along books, which helps for your younger and newer readers. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that because it's a long video already. But please feel free to add some comments or questions in the comments section, and I will try and answer any questions anybody has. Thank you.